You're listening to the Hockey Podcast Network. New shows every day. Find us at thehockeypodcastnetwork.com or wherever you get your podcasts from.
The NFL is back, and DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL, is giving all new players a can't-miss offer for Week 1. Just bet $1 on any NFL game during the first week of the season and receive $200 in free bets instantly. 200 smackaroos, no matter what. Take advantage of this limited-time offer now. You heard right. DraftKings is giving all new players $200 in free bets instantly when you place a bet of $1 or more on any Week 1 game. Head to DraftKings Sportsbook app now and check out all the great promotions and daily odds boosts. Plus, you can make every game a big game with same-game parlays. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use promo code THPN to receive $200 in free bets when you place a $1 bet on any Week 1 game. That's promo code THPN to get your free $200 in free bets instantly for a limited time only at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. Must be 21 or older, New Jersey, Indiana, or Pennsylvania only. New customers only. Restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or in Indiana, call 1-800-9-WITH-IT. Everybody, and welcome to episode 75, season 2 of Red Wings Rant, where tirades and impassioned pleas for your Detroit Red Wings finally have a home. Today we're doing part 3 of our roster breakdown, the old depth chart breakdown, going from forwards and D pairs on the first episode, moving to power play on episode 2, which got us a lot of content apparently, and episode 3 here, part 3, we're going to be finishing up our conversation and talking about penalty kill, and then we'll move on to the 2022-23 season, sort of fantasy book ourselves a little roster with a couple of free agent signings, and let's say a lot of our guys take a step forward. Some of the guys who we're predicting will be in Grand Rapids this year, certainly hoping they'll move on up. So we'll take a look at that and wrap up the conversation with how we get to that point, and a couple other little ditties mixed in the middle there. We do hope if you guys are enjoying this, you'll hit the subscribe button. It does us a world of wonder. And if you're listening to the podcast and not on YouTube, please subscribe, rate, and review. The Apple Podcast reviews do the most good for our little show here, so we'd greatly appreciate it if you did have the time. Throw us up a review and a star rating, and hopefully we can see ourselves jump up the charts here. And the very last way to support the show is you go to bodpodcast.com or brothersofdiscussion.com and hit the old shop button, and we do have our shirts mixed in there. The Eiserplan fleece, and the Red Wings Rant t-shirts. It's all as cheap as we could possibly make it, but if you want to support the show, that's the best way how. And with that, please enjoy part 3 of the Detroit Red Wings roster depth chart breakdown for 2021-22. To continue running through this depth chart, Mike, and like anybody who's Tristan, like yourself, you're just joining, for episodes moving forward, we're probably going to be breaking this up. So this is maybe our special team section, or maybe we'll do this. So we'll start talking penalty kill, which I don't have a graphic for. So Mike, I think you might be able to find it in the notes. But a lot of this was tough. Okay. And even looking at it now,
we used to get really lazy, right? It used to just be, Glendening, Helm, both those guys are gone. So now you gotta pull out of guys who are still currently employed, man.
And the hardest part here, as I mentioned earlier, like you could find the Kaiser the late half of the season, the last season had scored out well when he actually did touch the ice for the power play. Minimal numbers, but it was fine. Everybody on the penalty kill, Mike, scores out horribly. From comparing across the league, not just saying like, oh, can you believe all these goals these guys are giving up? Comparing the expected goals and Corsi throughout the league. I mean, we didn't have a ton of great performances, except for Lindstrom, who scored out really well. And even with that, all I did was reward him with our second PK unit. But really, this was another tough one for me because I did find some better numbers with Gagne. Giovanni Smith scored out well, and Nemistikov. I mean, compared to the rest of the Red Wings roster, when you want to try out things like we know that like Zadina was doing well as a two-way forward. Pew Suter actually scores out pretty well going both ways. But I wonder if they are going to go heavily into the bottom six to try and build out the PK units. So you bring this up. I think Mitchell Stevens is for sure on the first PK unit. That's the only one I'm really solid on. And then I've got I would say this is that opportunity for Puce to get mixed in there. But also Gagne, like I mentioned, scored out well. And while we're losing Helm and Glendening, it is really tough to fill this out without any, too much going on from last year. But then Stahl, and you can finish this off. The man who played 30 minutes a night last year, just keep it going. Hronik's going out there again. Stahl scored out pretty terribly, but over his career has done some penalty killing. And like I said, the only from the left-hand perspective, you could mess around with the left side perspective. You could mess around with De Keyser as well, but I'm not even putting too much thought into making sure I have left and right side defensemen while I'm building this penalty kill out. It's just been such a mad scramble the last couple of years. The main point I think I wanted to drag out of this was that Lindstrom earned my roster spot that I originally on my graphic gave to Stetcher because, again, he graded out as one of our best penalty killers last year, especially losing Glendening and Helm, who didn't necessarily rank great across the NHL, but at least with the Red Wings, they performed well. So that's where I'm sitting right now. And Mike, you can see this list here. Oh, and I forgot to mention on the second PK unit, Nemistikov is going to be my center with Giovanni Smith. That almost feels like I barely tried, to be honest. Like Giovanni did well, but I think he played a total of like 20 minutes last year. So on the PK, so we're not really patting him on the back too hard. And it's something too, where with his size, I know he can make a difference, but could be something we could get burned on that second PK unit from a speed perspective.
I think on your first penalty kill line, I do agree that Stevens is going to get a shot definitely to be on the first unit. Not against Hronik being in there, but I gotta think that Stetcher's probably this is going to be his opportunity to kind of shine and try and eat some of the minutes. I don't know if I see Mark Stahl on there, Matt. As we add another year in age to his resume, I would probably. This is where it might get a little tricky because I don't think that it doesn't seem like the Wings are big fans of kind of mucking around with the pairings as much. But man, it's hard to get away from we took a dumb penalty in the third period. We're trying to defend a 1-goal lead to not have like the Stetcher, Hronik, Stevens, and probably Larkin in some capacity. I get trying to, not burn out our captain, but as far as a dude with the wheels to have that recovery speed, on somebody trying to take a risk at, at a takeaway, I got to think that Larkin would be in there in some capacity with Stevens, Stetcher, and Hronik on the first line. And I get where you're going with Gagne, spreading out the well, spreading out the minutes, but seems every year now they're asking more and more of Larkin, right? As he further hones his skills, and I gotta say I gotta see the captain on there, Matt. I see him on that first line.
Now, one of the names we haven't brought up yet, and Tristan's in letting us. He's bringing up Joe Vellano. Now, as I put Lindstrom on our roster because he scores out well as a penalty killer, Joe Vellano could fit in right there to take over for Gagne. Like we mentioned earlier, Gagne gets a roster spot because we're trying to find some. We're trying to get those right-handed sticks in there, but I mean, there's so much opportunity to just. The Mistikov could come out too. I think I have a warm soft spot for him because he plays so many different positions and he does all of them okay, between okay and good, right? He's not terrible in any one spot, but he's not great in any spot. But I do like what Tristan's bringing up. You just move around like our original depth chart. You give Joe Vellano a for sure spot, which again, I had him when we talked about rosters a couple of weeks ago. He's in my fourth center spot, but then when I gave it to Mitchell Stevens, maybe that was an opportunity to move Joe Vellano up, and I think there's absolutely an opportunity for him to take one of those winger spots and maybe have a more fun third line with Rasmussen, Vellano, and Nemestikov, or keep Gagne in there and keep the stick and say bye-bye Nemestikov. But that would be a wonderful way to make these penalty-killing units a little bit easier to fill out, is just to switch up right from the start and have Vellano slot in there. So, Tristan, I love what you're throwing in there. That is certainly something like we saw at the end of the year. And we keep trying to peg these guys that are learning from the system. We want to get everybody going two-way. Joe Vellano not only brought over what he did in Europe and transitioned well, but he really did look one of our top two-way forwards at the end of the season there. So I really like that mention in there.
Yeah, I would just say, kind of towards the end of the season, that's when this team was really having a rough time with injuries. So we'll see how, Vellano kind of pans out minute-wise. But the fun thing is we keep making these predictions about how the season's going to start, and it feels like we're making a prediction for how they're going to look for 3 games
before everything
reality and injuries start piling up. More of our young guys start shining in Grand Rapids.
So let's do this. We don't want this to go too long. So we do have at least an end of the season roster I wanted to take a peek at. If Mike, if you want to do that, we'll transition into that conversation. And then we'll sail off into the sunset after that.
Yeah, is that your because I see you have a 2022 roster builder with a looks like a member of the Florida Panthers sliding in on that first line, man. Is that what I'm looking at?
We can take a peek at that real quick. So there that one is. Alexander Barkov gets signed by the Wingdings. This does a lot of good for us. This makes lineups way easier to fill out as we move forward. So this is how this one's built out. But I did want to go over an end of the season roster, which is very similar to this if you guys are watching on YouTube, just without a Barkov mixed in there. And Lucas Raymond was sniffing a spot, and Jonathan Berggren was sniffing a spot, and who else did I have mixed in there? Albert Johansen.
Ekholm?
No, So for the 2022 roster, I am putting in. I'm picking up Matthias Ekholm and Alexander Barkov. Our entire left side defense is going to be gone next season. So I did bring back Danny DeKeyser, and despite Simon Edmondson getting drilled into the boards today, I was kind of hoping that he'd get a shot early next year. I'm thinking that it's not a big shot, but here we are. We're talking. Let's have fun. So that first line in 2022, like my hopeful Verana Barkov and Lucas Raymond. Second line, Zadina, Larkin, and Bertuzzi. Third line, we've got Fabry, Puce, and Jonathan Berggren. And then our fourth line is Ernie, Vellano, and Mitchell Stevens sticks around, and Vellano takes that center spot that Tristan was trying to get in there.
Did we trade Elias Pettersson? We traded for the rights to Barkov and then signed him?
Right. Yeah, we traded away Pettersson.
Okay.
No.
So we won the 2021 Cup with Pettersson. So this is too much success. Let's try this. Run it back with Barkov. Gotcha.
I do have another version of these with Pettersson mixed in there, Casey Cizikas, and Kyle Palmieri for this season's roster. That was for funsies. That's my let's fucking go roster. But this is just your standard 2022. I'm signing 2 free agents, and look at all these young kids. We're gonna be fucking amazing. Clearly, no war score, no points could be predicted with the likes of Lucas Raymond, and of course Simon Edvinsson doesn't even have a Red Wing logo next to him if you guys are watching on YouTube, because technically to Jay Fresh, he doesn't even exist yet.
You got to earn it. Like those, what is it, the Buckeyes who put those little nuts on their helmets? So you got to earn the winged wheel. All right. You just go out there in a red jersey. Good luck.
And like I said, too, with Edvinsson making it on here with the bottom pairing, I did actually just completely miss that I had Albert Johansen at my end of season, at least the tryout of this current season is like my fingers crossed hopeful. So I don't know how he got my tryout, and then he got cut for 2022. So he apparently didn't go well, went really bad. But that's another option, I think, in that bottom pairing. I think everybody here, we have Johnny Williams. Let me pick him out. Who else? There we go. Eric. They're pointing out we're a few years down the road from seeing Edvinsson. So even at that point where we're looking at his second year, they're looking at one more year before he's ready to go. For me at this point, I'm not going to put my finger on anything. I'd like to think that we're giving some. He's gonna at least be here in Michigan at the start of next season to get some look. But again, pie in the sky. This is how I want it to look. Mike, any final thoughts before we wrap up?
I'm really excited to see what kind of draft capital we got in that Pettersson for rights to Barkov deal. Hopefully, 8 to 9 first-round picks for arguably the best center in the National Hockey League. So really excited to see how that trade pans out, Matt.
I will say I did have to go like a few million over the cap to get us into like a playoff position after I brought over Pettersson.
Did
like
you
doing
have
the math.
somebody warm the bench for the regular season and come back in the playoffs so it wouldn't hurt us?
Like those are the problems I can't wait to have. But
those are Tampa Bay Lightning problems. Those aren't Red Wing problems.
Oh, here we go. Tristan's got some more options too for our third line. Emil Vero, William Wallander.
Oh, Wallander. Now you're speaking my language, Tristan. That's my boy.
6'6" Wallander or 6'5" Wallander. Either way,
in wrestling,
powering
he's
beast.
7 foot, man. 7 foot, 300 pounds. Wallander coming out. Can't wait.
And Eric's got McIsaac in there. I would love to see him get a shot. I just feel like every year there's something that just, another injury to McIsaac or something that'll set him back. I looked at this and just thought or at least for McIsaac's sake, I was like, man, that would be wonderful to see him get a shot. But I just don't feel it anymore. But would be great. Wallander, my hiccup there was that I'm pretty sure he doesn't even have his ELC yet. But Vero signed his a few months ago, so he'd be ready to go. He'd be good to go. We've also got maybe Donnie Sabrango really surprises everybody, who got that early contract with Grand Rapids last year. That's another good shot. But for all we know, too, there's some trades, there's some free agents that could fill in here. So pie in the sky. I think Matthias Ekholm was not reaching too far, but still landing in a pretty good defenseman. And Barkov would be the one where we just shell out. That's where we're ready to roll. All right.
Before we go, if we really make that Palmieri move, Matt, does that mean that we're saying goodbye to a lottery pick? Do you think that he would make that much of a difference this year?
No, I would still come back to the fact that I look at him as a power play specialist. And if we're trying to teach, these youngsters how to get something going, and eventually we're going to see the likes of Lucas Raymond on this team, I'd like him to get in on a power play unit that wasn't as embarrassing as our power play unit was last year. So I just want to see something where there's, coaching is a huge aspect, I guess, of these power plays. Bilesma goes and Tunge's going to step in. But, to me, number one priority is personnel around you. So if we're struggling to put together a second power play unit because it's just hard to go up and down this roster and pick 10 guys, we can get 5. 10 is rough. So that's the long and short of that one.
Tanguay could look really good. Like you just said with personnel. Like now you got Letty, you're gonna have healthy Bertuzzi, and then potentially Palmieri. I mean, he's gonna look better, right? Just with a couple healthy pieces, and maybe two shiny new guys. So we'll see.
All right, got to thank you all for sitting through. Really appreciate it. This is that moment where I remind you all, greatest good you can do for us is hit the subscribe button there in the bottom right corner of your screen. We also would greatly appreciate, if you are listening to the podcast, a review or I should say a star rating and a review on Apple Podcasts, which shows us the most good for making sure new ears and people browsing can find Red Wings Rant. And we also hope, as well as you were listening to this episode or watching on YouTube, if you could send us a line. You can find us on YouTube as the Brothers of Discussion. Comment on the video. Let us know what your rosters were. We want to break those down as well. And then if you want to find us on Twitter, we are at BOD Hockey. Feel free to reach out once we post this episode, comment on that tweet, and let us know what you're thinking roster-wise. If you got to break something down, give us a picture, and send it to us. I have no problem with that. I will take that picture. We'll probably post it on the next episode and give you that shout out. So thanks again, everybody, for tuning in. We hope you enjoyed the series. And like I said, hopefully we can get one more episode once we get everybody else's input and what you guys want to see in the Detroit Red Wings roster going forward. All right. Thanks again for tuning in. That's BODpodcast.com, brothersdiscussion.com, at BOD Hockey, all that fun stuff there. And we will catch you guys in a couple of nights.